Okay, hi there. My name is Søren. I was asked to do a speech here about the publishing market, publisher market. So what is the publisher market? It's basically a lot of you guys are developers. You're thinking about how to bring your game to the market, and a lot of you are looking for a publisher. So what are publishers? What do they do, and what is the situation in 2025? That's what I'm going to try to give a little overview over. Here's my background. I'm based in Hamburg, Germany. I started in the games industry around 20 years ago when I was part of the team that founded the office from Ubisoft for the Nordics in Copenhagen. Then I was in Montreal working for the studio of Ubisoft in Montreal as a link between the development studio and the publishing units. I was a scout for a publisher. So I've seen basically the publishing side working for a publisher, but these last years I've been helping a lot of developers raise money in the market, mainly from publishers but also investors. So I sort of know both perspectives and seen the ups and downs of these last years in that segment. So what is a publisher? There's over the times what a publisher is and does has basically evolved a lot. A lot of us think about EA, Electronic Arts. They've been around for like many years, are still one of the leading publishers. But they came from a time when you basically couldn't launch a game without a publisher because you had to get it into the retail market, and that was extremely difficult. Then around 2010, there was like the whole digital revolution with Steam, with PlayStation Network coming up. So there was a new breed of publishers coming up. I picked Devolver here from that era because they were very good at launching games that were maybe not like something that everybody would know and hear about. They were very good at digital distribution that was a new sort of publishers. Then there was the area around, I would say, 5-6 years ago when suddenly there was not the classical publishers that would fund your game and just put it out there in the market and market it, but suddenly there were console platforms, there was other breeds of publishers coming up, and I have like Epic Games here that has been also funding a lot of games, that is also a developer with Fortnite, has technology. So suddenly this publishing market was becoming much more blurred before the COVID times. And suddenly now, these last years, we've been seeing another breed of publishers. These are probably suddenly developers that have published games successfully that then turn into publishers as well. And here we have Instinct 3, which is a German influencer agency that suddenly also became a gaming publisher. So in the market today, you have all these kind of different companies that are considered publishers. So what is a publisher really, and what do you need them for? Let's talk about what is publishing. What is publishing actually in your game? You're developing a game, but what does it mean to publish it? It's not just putting the game on the market. It's much more. And I worked on a definition of that because if you ask people, there's many different definitions that you will get. So basically, we found that this was like the process of getting the right game to the right audience. So it's not just about putting your game out there on the market, but publishing means defining what your game is, finding that audience, and also promoting it towards it. So if you're looking for a publisher these days, think about, are they the right publisher for your audience, and how do they get to them? It's a lot about community building and things these days. So also that has changed a lot. If we look at the different things that publishers actually do, I mean, what do people do that work with publishers? There's all these activities that go from production to basically live service. And the thing is, a lot of these things you can also do as a developer, but publishers can take a lot of that workload off you. The question is, of course, do you want them to do that? Do you rather do that yourself? Isn't it better for your studio strategically to develop that in-house? It's a lot of decisions that you need to make. My conclusion is that if there's anything that's strategically very important where the publisher can help you, which is like having a community that's really big, or knowing the audience that you're doing, or helping you to focus on your game, then you might consider working with a publisher. But in principle, you could all do these things mostly by yourself, and a lot of developers are doing it very successfully. But of course, one of the reasons also why a lot of developers go to publishers is, of course, about the money. You need funding for your game, and publishers are, in addition to public funding that maybe might get you to a certain stage with your game, still the #1 source for game finance. So finding a publisher, finding budgets from the publisher is of course a very important reason also. But you should also think about the other things. This is a little bit of a definition also. That is, what's the difference then if the publisher is just giving money to you? And of course, there are these other things that I mentioned that they can add on top of that. So in the end, the question you have to ask yourself is, do you need a publisher? Do you need it for money? But maybe there's other ways to raise money for your projects. And then what are these strategic things that a publisher can do to you that can help you? A lot of you will probably have financed your games by other means, but still there could be opportunities to go with a publisher that could benefit for you. But there's many publishers out there. So once you've made that decision, like, do I really want to work with a publisher, or which publisher I want to work with? How do you find the right publishers? And it can be very confusing, like all these companies out there. If you look at the meeting system here at the event, or even at Gamescom or GDC, there's so many companies. How do you find the right one? The good way is to segment the market. You have the first-party companies. A lot of these platform holders are funding games because they need them as content for their platforms. There are the very big publishers. Of course, they mainly work with their in-house teams and with, but a lot of them also have their own publishing labels for indie games. I know, for instance, a studio from Germany. It started as a one-man studio that's working with Ubisoft right now. So there are also opportunities there. Then there are the AA publishers, I would call them. The budgets are maybe a bit smaller, but they can also publish your game. Then there are the boutique publishers. I mentioned Devolver before. Boutique publishers are probably the ones that are most relevant for most indie games out there. You meet several of them here at the event. Also if you have a game that's maybe not so mainstream, these guys know how to promote these games. Something that's really come up these last years a lot are the I would call expert publishers. So they're focused on certain segments in the market. And the ones I'm mentioning there, like Paradox, Hooded Horse, for instance, are focused on strategy games, Annapurna more on narrative games. And because the market is so blurred right now, there's so many publishers, there's so many games being launched. Publishers normally looking at a couple of thousand games a year. If you have a game that has a certain genre of focus, and you go to these guys that are more specialized, the chances of getting a deal is much higher than if you go for some that are more generic, I would say. So if I had a game, I would start to look at who are the specialists. We had a talk about the cozy game genre just before here. Who are the cozy game publishers out there that you could speak to if you have a game like that? Something that's also very new in the market are the developers that are suddenly turning into publishers. That's a whole new breed of publishers that has come up these last few years, and there's new of them turning up basically every week. So look at the sales Steam fests that have been taking place in the genre that you're active. Look at the other teams that are out there. Maybe some of them have earned a lot of money and are very good at promoting their game. They might take your game on board as well. Then there are the media groups. I mentioned a couple of them here. Netflix has been very actively in the gaming market. If you have a game that fits with a certain IP, why not speaking with these guys and see if there's a fit there for your game? And then we're having also the, I'd call investors. There's a lot of investors in the gaming space right now, and a lot of them are offering services that publishers are also offering. So I would also call them as sort of a publisher right now. Of course, the business terms are very often different, but there might be the right solution for you. Mobile gaming, I mean, the mobile space has its own segments of publishers, so I will not dive so much into that right now. But there's also a lot of different publishers in that space. And then there are these agencies that suddenly are offering marketing and publishing services against royalties, have their own distribution platforms, some of them, or work together with other publishers. So that's also another angle, that if you have a game that's very good at, for streamers or things like that, maybe one of those new streaming agencies as a publisher could be an opportunity. So there's so much out there right now, but of course it's about checking the market properly and finding out who's really the right match for you. The way the market is looking at right now is it's of course affected by the crisis there's been and especially in games funding these last years. But as we see, there's many opportunities out there. There's maybe not so much budget anymore, but there is money around and there are many opportunities that you could go to. A lot of publishers have built this in-house studio pipelines, but they also have IPs. A lot of IPs have been acquired these last years. So if you're doing a certain game that fits with an old gaming IP that has been bought by some publisher, it could also be an opportunity for you to pitch for that. But overall, gaming is still bigger than it's ever been. So there's still a lot of money floating into the ecosystem. So it's this, I would say, this mix between all these opportunities. There's less money out there, but it is within these publishers, but you're still in a space that's growing a lot. There's marketing agencies that are using games as well. A couple of studios I know are making a lot of money also by working with these companies. So overall, it's a very blurred system that you really need to spend time diving into and finding the right opportunities. Here are just some news from I think it's 2 months ago about different things happening in the publishing market. Kepler acquiring a studio. 3 Fans was announced. The publisher here from Sweden. I know they're around here somewhere. So it's a very, very dynamic market compared to the times when there was EA and Ubisoft and a couple of others. It's really like a jungle right now. The main challenge, however, that I see today is that there are so many games being pitched, and this is really, I think, the #1 challenge. We know gaming is growing. There's so many different publishers out there. You need to find the right ones, of course, but there's so many other games that are being pitched to these companies. So the main challenge is reaching them at the right time, having the right product. A lot of it is also depending on luck, timing, contacts when you're pitching. But this is the main challenge, I think, for most developers today is the higher number of games. Typical publishers looking at 2,000 to 3,000 games a year. So you need to stand out somehow. So my recommendations for navigating this market in these years is you need to spend more effort on screening the market out there. Who are the right publishers for you? Start with your game and then check the Steam Fests that are out there. Who are the publishers that are launching games there? Look who are the developers and then really make this map of publishers based on specialized publishers, maybe boutique publishers, and then try to hunt these people down. And this takes time and efforts. For your pitch, of course, you need to have things that maybe you didn't need before. Wish lists is a theme that's popping up more and more, and the demands from publishers to that when you present something are getting higher. It's not a lot to have 100,000 wish lists anymore, and it can be, but it's not a USP in itself. What is your USP? You really have a unique game that's out there, or is it something you think is special but nobody else? If you can validate that, it's also a very important thing. And how are the genres doing that you're active in? Comparing the other games that are out there, having really some solid numbers to present is important for the pitch deck as well. So if you have these 3 things and spend time on that and have them in your pitch deck, your chances, I would say, are better for getting a deal. Innovative publishing solutions. I think I mentioned a couple of things. There was I read a news a couple of months ago about a chess company from the UK that managed to get a deal with Netflix for the TV series Queen's Gambit. I mean, they were seeing the show. They were active in the chess genre, and they contacted them. Think out of the box when you're looking for publishers. As mentioned, there's many opportunities out there. Go there where not everybody else is doing. And network. I mean, being at events like this, meeting people, people that work for publishers that you meet today might be working for another publisher the next 6 months, maybe 2 or 3 other positions. There's a lot of dynamics in the market right now. So the more people you know, they might remember you, the better it is for you. And yeah, basically that was my little overview over the publisher market in 2025. Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now it's time for Q&A. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. I'll give you the mic. Well,
good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you have a view on how important like social media and influencers are for current marketing?
For marketing when the game is out or before? Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, very, very important. I mean, it's. I would think the main challenge today for a lot of publishers is how to handle social media, because a lot of wish lists, a lot of sales is generated via streamers. So to me, honestly, if we speak about the indie Steam console market, it's probably the #1 marketing channel right now. The challenge is that social media is changing so quickly that if you go out and you want to, you're not sure about if you should work with a publisher or not, check their social media accounts and see how many subscribers do they have on YouTube, how many people are reading their Reddit posts and things like that. So it's really, I used to work with marketing when it was mainly press, it was cinema advertising and things like that. Social media is #1 at the moment, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
Hi. Continuing on that question, actually, how do you see with this like social media presence being so important? Do publishers rather take control of that social media marketing, or would they prefer for the pitching studio to already have a social media presence and campaign already like established? Of course, it's probably both.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I would never say the publishers, because there's so many different ones, So ideally, there is already something happening, and of course, it's also a means for you to raise awareness amongst the publishers if you have a good following. But there are also examples of games, where the publisher was really good. PlayStack, for instance, was very good at promoting some of their games via social media. So it really depends, I would say. But ideally, it comes from within the studio, because it needs to be authentic. And I think that's also a big change compared with 10, 15 years ago, that it needs to come from the studio, a lot of it. And building communities is very difficult if it's not coming from the studio. It's the same when I was working at Ubisoft. I was doing PR back then. If I met some journalists, they didn't want to speak with me because I was just doing my sales talk. But if they met the developer, that was really what they were interested in. And I think in a way, these communities, they work still the same way. So it needs to come from the studio. But the publisher can help you. They can help you reach out to the right people. And some of them also have brands that make maybe some streamers want to look more at your game if they do that.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Well,
Yeah.
then let's thank Søren. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much.
And please follow Tugboat Interactive socials, and you can find Søren on LinkedIn, and please follow.
Yeah. If you have any questions about this, just send me a quick note. Always happy to have a quick chat. Okay. Thanks.